Hi guys, Matt from MBM Aquatics. It's been about 6 weeks since we moved the last fish in the last tank up here in the fishroom 3.1. I've been pretty quiet. It was an exhausting endeavor, and I just kind of been sitting back and sustaining the fishroom. I haven't been putting a whole lot of work into improving. All tanks are running. Everything seemed alright so far. I did have a few issues and a few hang-ups, so today I'm just going to kind of recap some of the trials and tribulations I went through with this group. The first was just water in general. When we bought the house, I had tested water pre-water softener, knowing that long-term for the fish room I'm going to run water. I don't want to run through the water softener. I'm going to run a 2-inch line out to the other garage direct from the well. And that water tested at 7.6 with a TDS of about 175, 180, which is ideal water. So I didn't think much past that in the planning process. So when the fish came up here, I was running directly off the faucet, which is running through a water softener. So it's loading that water up with sodium bicarbonate. And it's raising the TDS from around 200, just below 200, to well over 5. It's also bumped the pH up to almost 8, over 8. And a few of the fish didn't like that. So I had to battle that a little bit. The fish that were being super sensitive short term, I've just been storing buckets of straight well water and doing water changes with the fish that reacted poorly. One of the fish that took the move the hardest was the Corridor's Tinetti, CW16s. I'm one of few people that was breeding these on a fairly regular basis, and I had 3 groups going. One was to be an additional breeding group for myself. One group was going to Eric Bodrock in a trade, and then my main breeding group. I ended up losing all but 6 of these fish, but it looks like I have both sexes, and they look very well, and they've been quite active lately. So hopefully we can get some eggs out of these guys and get back in business. I didn't lose them all. I was very fortunate there. They really took the blunt of the hit. Other fish, I think it was a combination of the stress of the move and the water change, and it would be one of this species, one of that species. These guys, it was just constant, every day, losing one. Another kind of lesson learned was my air system. I was running a Sweetwater rotary or vane blower, which was very loud, had a high-pitched squeal if you watch the other videos. Originally, I had run air across and was going to tee across the bottom of this rack here. The problem with my tee system was, one, when I disconnected the blower to move it, it created a back siphon on all the tanks that were above the tee, which I should have just known better, and I was in a hurry and just trying to get something. So I had to bump it above the highest tanks so that I wouldn't have any issues with the back siphon. The other issue I ran into with the air was when I went from the Sweetwater blower to the Alta linear piston was the pressure drop. Although they both moved about the same volume in air, the rotary vane had a lot more pressure, so it could deal with the dead ends at the end of a tee. The linear piston does not have the pressure, so I had to run loops and connect everything together so that the air was not trying to take the path of least resistance, resulting in low pressure at my ends. Another thing I mentioned in one of the videos is that I had to move this entire rack, and I ended up just flopping it onto the other end so I can move this over to give myself access to the attic. I haven't done anything with the exhaust yet. I've been using the sunroom, which is off the garage, as my exhaust room, and just kind of letting the air, leaving the windows open up there. I had a couple issues with this rack here. The first one, this rack was originally designed for the old fish room, and everything was built in conjunction with the long rack that's holding all the tens to fit into that fish room. That's why there's a goofy spot where the tens and the top row of 10s doesn't match up with the rest of them because I kind of just haphazardly slammed some lumber in there to hold 10s. So that fishroom had a drop ceiling, and that's where that rack was going to go. So this rack was originally going to hold 3 20 longs, a big custom tank, and then there was going to be a sump down here that would recirculate for fried growing. 2 issues. One, this rack I put together in the garage at the old place to help with my measurements. What happened was it sat there so long that I forgot that it wasn't entirely put together because this rack was so big it wouldn't fit through any of the doorways in the old fishroom. So it was just screwed together enough that I could stand it up and measure it and see how things were going to fit together. But it was never truly screwed together. It made that whole move not being fully assembled, and we had tanks on it. And what it was, so it was screwed together here, but there was nothing holding these legs to the cross braces. I got very lucky because without those screws it was able to pivot, and this thing slowly and gradually just tipped back and back and back until these top tanks were leaning against the wall. And even then I sat around and scratched my head trying to figure out why it was happening. What I ended up doing was draining all these tanks down, wrapping a ratchet strap around the legs, and winching it forward without taking the tanks off, and then screwing the legs, maybe putting all the screws in that needed to be there so that the legs couldn't pivot. Another near-miss situation I had with the move was these Metro racks. The way these work is the shelf has a tapered head, and then there's a tapered sleeve that wraps around the pole with a notch in it that locks into place. And then physics take over when you set the shelf on it. And the more weight on the shelf, it pushes down, squeezing that sleeve around that pole. But one of the sleeves, as you adjust these, the plastic ring that clips into the circles around the legs, the plastic starts to wear out the more you construct and deconstruct these racks. So on one of these racks, this shelf in particular, the plastic had worn out, and after the rack sat, it actually dropped, the back corner dropped about 2 inches due to the plastic sleeve being worn out. I got lucky again, caught it in time, was able to drain the tanks, get a buddy of mine over here, lift that sleeve up, lift that shelf up, put a new sleeve on it, and put it in place. I mentioned in one of the Facebook posts that these racks have been great for a beginner in the hobby to be able to work with and play with and configure different layouts and different things like that with your tanks. You're not kind of set in place. It's a lot cheaper than cutting wood or fabricating steel racks. Gives you some freedom to play with different designs. If you get racks that are weighted for the right weight and you watch your sleeves, there's no issues with them. But it's something to just kind of be aware of. It's something that can happen. So you really want to be cautious with these racks, but they are safety. So this one here is rated for a 1,200-pound shelf. This one's rated for an 800-pound maximum per shelf. So there's weight constraint as long as they're evenly distributed, you have no worries. Another mistake I made when I was doing this, and some of it was just the fish got to get moved, so let's get them moved, is that these here are pleco tanks which have heaters in them. We are in the opposite corner of the heater for the room, closest to the door, which is not an ideal location for this. It's not terrible for the plecos, but it could be much better and far more energy efficient to get them moved closer to the heater for the room. We did put the fry system in where I said I would. It's pretty empty right now, nothing going on. But it's running exactly the way it was running at the old house. Recirculating down through there and back up. Again, here we can take a closer look at where I've looped some of my plumbing around. It was kind of tricky to figure out because I had the attic access and the garage door that I couldn't obviously block. So there's some goofy loop systems going on here. For example, that should actually run up to that end there. That's an example of where I'm getting the dead areas, is where that NT just dead ends. So that one there, I'm actually going to go up, back over, and come back down to create a loop. You might be wondering why, as we've panned through some of the tanks here, that I just have loose sponge filters kind of tumbling around in the tanks. That is so if I would ever have some sort of disaster, if a tank would start to crash or I start to lose fish, or a seal would pop, or I'm getting ready to put in something new, or set up something for quarantine, or move some fry into a tank, I have cycled sponges all over the fish room that I can grab to get a tank up and running rather quickly. On the hobby side of things, I did make it up to the Milwaukee Fish Bowl. I got to see Ian Fuller. I wasn't able to do CatCon, as I mentioned, so I was real excited to be able to get to see him. And then him and Rob McClure came down and found the first cory spawning in the fish room. Last weekend, I spent a good portion of the weekend hanging out down at the Aquatic Experience. A lot of my hobby friends were hanging out down there. Rachel, Barbie, Dale, Janine, a lot of fish people down hanging out. Dale Ernst and Barbie actually came up and checked out the fish room. Both them and Ian gave me a couple ideas for the future fish room, and we kind of swapped ideas. So it was kind of neat to have them guys come up and give me their input. And next week I'm going out to the OCA and take a few fish with me. I don't have a whole lot, but I've earned the time away from the fish room, and the fish seem to be ready for it. So we're going to make up some Apache food and feed some fish today, do a couple water changes, and then work on finding my stuff for taking fish out to a show, because my stuff's still kind of scattered everywhere. So that kind of sums up the some of the issues I've run into along the way with this move. I am going to be putting a talk together on the move and the construction of the new fish room. Looking forward, I've already started to work on that. I didn't take as many videos, I shouldn't even say that. Many of the videos I took during the move weren't really usable because we're a bunch of fat guys with no shirts on because it was 90-something degrees, or there was inappropriate discussions going on in the background. So, but I've been pulling stills out of those to use for talks. And we just kind of keep plugging away. The fish room here is pretty much the way it's going to sit. And we might fill in some of the holes as things breed to raise up fry. But otherwise, this fish room just kind of is what it is until I get the other one done. I think I've gone to the point of not shaving till the new fish room is done. Not sure how Stacy's going to feel about that, because at the rate we're going, I may have a 3-foot beard, but we'll see. We're looking forward to it. I'm hoping to start insulating here in the next couple of weeks after OCA Thanksgiving week. Start insulating, start getting some real good accurate measurements, wall to wall, where windows are, where outlets are, things like that, so that I can really start putting some effort into drawing up this room and come up with a good plan. I got a lot of ideas in my head. It's a matter of getting them on paper, making sure everything's going to fit, and start cutting some lumber and build some racks and getting Fishroom 4.1 up and running. So thanks for checking out the video. I've got a few more floating around. I've been working on editing some other videos I had. I put up some blackworm videos, although now I hear blackworms are quite hard to come by. So we'll keep plugging away, doing some videos and stuff, letting you guys know I'm still around, still keeping fish. Even though you don't see me posting auctions on Aquabid or pushing a lot of fish, I'm still keeping them and working on getting everything back up and running so that I can keep giving you some great bottom feeders.
Matt from MBM Aquatics. Back soon.